Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and it has definitely been a few days. But that's because I've been on vacation. I wasn't here for almost a week, and I probably should have said something on the channel. Maybe I did a few videos ago, but I should have posted something because I know some people were reaching out and messaging me going, "Oh my gosh, Jason, where are you? You haven't posted a video on the Texas Gun Vault 2 in like 2 or 3 days. Are you okay?" And the answer is yes. My wife and I went to Charlotte, North Carolina to see my parents and to attend the Coca-Cola 600. My wife wanted to go see a NASCAR race. She had never been to one, and she chose the longest race on the circuit. So it was just convenient because that's where my parents live. So we went there, we had a blast, it was an awesome time. And I really think that my wife has found something that she's passionate about watching when it comes to sports, even though it's just motorsports. Absolutely loved it, had a wonderful time. It was great seeing my parents. And obviously I took a little bit of time off from Texas gun vaulting. But we are back in the saddle, and I was able to get some stuff done when it came to the Patreon side of things today. I was able to finish up a review on a scope, which is going to be, or the video will be released this weekend on Saturday. It's the, what is it called again? The Nutrek Copper Tag. So I think you guys will like it. Overall, it's a pretty good scope for the money and lots of features. I will go ahead and spoil it for you now. My only big issue with it was the eye relief, which is a little bit unforgiving. It's at 95 millimeters. Well, it says 94 to 96, and I felt at the higher magnifications, which normally you don't get great eye relief, it is just so unforgiving. I mean, if you move your eye just a little bit or change your cheek weld or maybe having to reacquire the target after recoil, it's a little bit tough. Besides that, awesome scope, and I'm really glad that I got to review it. All right, so I have a couple things I want to talk about, some garage gun talk stuff regarding other content creators, well, the big content creators, doing something that I think is not good, not in a bad way. It's just something that I am not interested in, and I actually think is going to hurt the gun tubiverse a little bit. I also want to talk about the current status of the Hearing Protection Act and what I think is going to happen. But I also have an upcoming project. No, not upcoming projects. What did I say? It is an upcoming project because I got to make the video. A first impressions video. So that's what we're going to start with now because many of you guys are all about the guns. And I don't blame you, okay? Because that mainly is what the Texas Gun Vault is about. So the usual caveat has to be given. If you are new to my channel, or maybe you saw the title of this video, this is not a review. This is the Texas Gun Vault 2. This is my behind the scenes channel where I just film things in my garage when I get home from the range on my phone. That's it. If you want to go see my proper reviews, which are made with a very nice camera and better audio equipment and all that kind of stuff, go ahead and check out the main channel. There's a link in the description below. And maybe you guys would prefer that content. Some people like this, some people like that. But the gun I took to the range today, I was hoping to get 2 or 3 things done, but kind of getting back into the saddle and getting going again, I ended up just going and shooting one thing. I'll take the other thing to the range, which was the Noveske Ghetto Blaster in 5.56 and a Q suppressor that I need to review. But I took this pistol, and this is the thing I did shoot and review. This is from Vulcan Machine Werks, which I believe is based in, Plano, which is one town south of here. I'm based in Frisco, Texas, and Plano is literally just right down the Dallas North Tollway, one town, very, very close to here, and that's where they're based. And this is a company that I was aware of because I know that the people that have lent guns to the channel have had them do special custom work. Things like porting, Cerakote stuff, special machining where they could, port barrels and all that kind of stuff. And they do amazing work. But I guess they finally come out with their own 2011. And I guess the first thing I kind of want to say before I tell you about how this gun shot is that I feel like the 2011 market is becoming saturated. And it's so saturated now by so many companies trying to make 2011s that it is hurting other companies because we have, was it Watchtower Firearms recently went out of business. We have other 2011 manufacturers that are going out of business. It's just because the market is so flooded, and 2011s are very, very, very pricey guns. So most people aren't going out and buying 2 or 3 of these, they're buying 1. Now, I'm very fortunate to have some people that have lent some stuff to the channel that have many 2011s, but most people choose 1. And when they buy that one $3,000 firearm, that's what they're going to stick with for a while. They're not buying something new and exciting because they've already spent a lot of money on 1. But we'll see what happens in the future. I personally think the 2011 thing is going to be a fad. It's going to burn itself out. It's like the massive stars of the universe. If you guys don't know anything about astronomy, the small stars, like the little red dwarfs, they can last for trillions of years because they can use all of their fuel. But the giant stars that burn bright, they burn through their fuel so fast and so hot that they only last a few millions of years. And in the cosmic terms of the universe, that's just a blink of an eye. And I kind of feel like that is what the 2011 market is. That it is a hot, hot star that's burning through its fuel fast. It's a trend. Everyone loves these things right now. So many companies are making them. The market's saturated, and I feel like the whole thing is going to collapse. I feel like the 2011 market is a house of cards. It's going to collapse. I'm not saying every company is going to go out of business or that you can't get a 2011 in 10 years. But what I'm going to say is right now we have a plethora of companies that are going to be whittled down to just a few. Okay, and that's going to be it. And people will move on to different firearms designs. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is the 11. Now, take a look at that name. It's on the side. Obviously, they use some interesting, I guess it kind of looks like 3s in there, but backwards 3s. And anyway, 11 is the name of this pistol. It is ported. And one of the things I mentioned when I was doing the upcoming projects video on this, look how square and boxy that is. I love it when people say Glocks are just big bricks, they're ugly, and then they'll go out and get something like this. Now, of course, D, I'm not making fun of you at all, because D, who has an amazing collection, lent this to the channel. I'm just saying that people in general will say Glocks are ugly because they look like, squares and cubes, and then we'll go, oh my God, this is the most gorgeous gun I've ever seen. Yeah, come on, that is a brick right there. Look at all those right angles. Now, you can love that or hate that. I don't care. For me, it's not my style, but I can appreciate the machining here. Okay, so how did this gun shoot? Well, even though I'm not a big fan of the looks, this one shot really well. Shot well from an accuracy standpoint. I would put it in one of the nicest, one of the most accurate 2011s I've ever shot. But what I was more impressed with is the shootability of the gun. And what I mean by that is how well balanced it is. There are some 2011s, and maybe if you're somebody that has shot a bunch of different ones, you will kind of understand what I'm saying here. There are some that feel like they're not sprung enough. You almost feel like the action of the slide is really slow. I've noticed that on some staccatos. I've noticed that on some like Atlas Gunworks things that are, the slide runs on the frame like ball bearings, but when you shoot it, you feel like the slide moves slow. And then there's other ones, like the last one I recently reviewed, the Cardinal Arms, that has a lot of recoil. It's all the same design, but this one shot really smooth, where I felt like the action was quick, but it wasn't hard recoiling. And it was so well balanced that you almost didn't feel it when the slide locked open. Now, I had absolutely no malfunctions with this gun, no errors, good ejections. It always locked back on an empty magazine, always. But it was so balanced, like you didn't even kind of feel it. You just almost had to count the rounds, or it kind of surprised you, which I liked. Now, this gun is also ported, which when it comes to compensated guns, I prefer porting over comps on the end. I actually think this is much more attractive, and I also feel like it's much more effective because you actually get the high pressures and the gases that are following the projectile down the barrel coming up instead of going into a chamber, and you lose a lot of that So I feel like the porting worked really well, and it wasn't obnoxious. Sometimes porting can be a little bit obnoxious in that it adds too much concussion and you kind of feel it in your face. You don't notice it with this as much. The only time I ever really noticed it was when I was running hollow points. And those are loaded a little bit hotter than the other stuff, the other range ammo I was using. And I definitely saw some, flashes and flames coming out of that, but the recoil wasn't bad. This is great from a shootability standpoint. It feels great in your hand. The texture is just rough enough. So well balanced. I really have nothing negative to say about it and the way it performed. I think my only gripes with this gun are going to be the aesthetics, and that has nothing to do with its functionality. And that's going to be a personal preference thing where I would pass on this gun if I saw it on the shelf, just because I personally feel that when you buy something expensive, even if it is a tool, you have to appreciate the aesthetics, because a firearm in most forms, especially in a high-end 2011, needs to be the blending of form and function. I know there's people out there that say, I got it all wrong, guns are tools. Well, a watch is a tool. You guys know I'm really big into higher-end watches. So right now I'm wearing a Rolex Oyster Perpetual with the green dial, 41 millimeter. And it just tells time. It doesn't even have a date complication on it. It's just a freaking watch. It's all it is. But you appreciate it for what it is. And it's, it costs what it does because there's a craftsman that put this together, that machined it, that made it a certain way. It is a functional watch, but it's also a piece of art. And that is what 2011s are, or high, most guns that are pretty pricey. And so I feel like when you buy a gun, you have to have a gun and find a gun that you enjoy shooting, that you think shoots well, fits your hand well, but also is aesthetically beautiful and attractive. It's like a car as well. If we only cared about the performance of cars, not the way that they looked, well, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Porsche, you name it, would be out of business, because there could be companies that can make, bricks that go really, really fast, that look really ugly, if that's all you cared about. But there's a reason why you like looking at a Porsche 911, right? Because it's sleek, it's sexy. You like looking at a Corvette. You like looking at a Ferrari. They just have those sexy curves. This gun just doesn't have that for me. Now, if you like this, more power to you, and I'm happy. Just not for me. But man, oh man, does this gun shoot well. This gun shoots so well. So that's what I thought about it. Fantastic time at the range, and I got to figure out a way to explain all of this in the range report, where I mainly test for function and performance. So I got to make sure I state it the right way. So anyway, that's what I thought about the Vulcan Machine Werks 11. So that will be in queue for this week. I have all of the range footage right here on my SD card. Just took it out of the camera, and I need to get a new SD card. This one's falling apart. So there you go. All right, so let's talk about, what should we talk about next? Okay, let's talk about the Hearing Protection Act really fast and what's going on. I know I've been off the grid for a while, and you guys really like it when I talk about this. And you guys know that I'm also kind of a sourpuss and a Debbie Downer when it comes to all the things going on, because I personally believe that the politicians that you guys vote for and claim are on our side will always snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. So we magically got the Hearing Protection Act with a full repeal of suppressors off the NFA through the House bill, the big, beautiful bill in the House. And it goes to the Senate. And I have seen all of the big channels, okay? And we're not going to, I guess, okay, I'll name some names, but I'm not besmirching them, okay? I'm not besmirching, I'm not saying they're bad. But you got Mr. Guns and Gear, you got Iraqi Veteran 8888, you got, of course, I'm sure, I haven't seen any of it, but I'm sure you got the armed scholars saying, breaking news, groundbreaking, NFA landscape changed forever. You had the Four Boxes Diner, all that kind of stuff. And they're all talking about suppressors. Now, some of them are more realistic than the other, but here's my take. I know you guys are happy, but you guys know as well as I do, it's going to be stripped from the Senate version of the bill, okay? I think the best thing you can hope for, the absolute best you can hope for, is going to be them coming back to you and saying, we're going to reduce the tax to $5. You're still going to have to do all the paperwork. You're still going to have to go through all the fingerprinting and all that, but it's only going to be $5. That is the optimal situation, okay? However, if you think the Senate, because they need 60 votes, and I know there's the whole reconciliation process which deals with budgetary items, they ain't going to get it through. Not only are you going to have every single Democrat vote against this thing, because not really because of the Hearing Protection Act, but because it's Donald Trump, and they have to be against him no matter what. You're going to have the squishy Republicans that are going to vote against it, not because of the Hearing Protection Act, but because of other stuff, possibly because of Donald Trump. So it's going to be an uphill battle. And your only saving grace is they're going to strip it out of the Senate bill. Then it's going to go to a conference committee where they're going to iron it out, and they're going to come back and say, okay, we're just going to change the tax. And that's if they even get around to that. My opinion is nothing's going to change. Okay, if I was a betting man, when all the dust settles, they're going to get the big beautiful bill passed, and suppressors are not going to be a part of it. That is, I'm going to say that's a 60% chance of what's going to happen. I'm going to say there's a 30% chance it's going to be the taxes reduced to $5 to be like any other weapons. And then I also feel like there's a 10% chance that we're going to get it a full repeal of suppressors off of the NFA. So I only give it a 10% chance. 60% chance nothing's going to happen. All right, let me unplug that refrigerator real fast because it just came on again. All right, so that's my thoughts on the Hearing Protection Act. So let me know your thoughts and your predictions in the comments. All right, and finally, the last thing I want to talk about is something that's kind of bothering me. Not really bothering where I'm like losing sleep over. It just makes me sad. And that is, I'm sure you guys have noticed that there are some very large gun content creators that have formed some cabal. And I don't mean that in a bad way, like they're conspiring against people. But they've gotten together, and I guess they're making a show. I forgot what it's called, like Hot Shot or something. I don't know what it is. But anyway, some type of show. I don't know if it's going to be on YouTube. I don't know if it's going to be on some type of Rumble or something, or it's going to be on something you have to pay for to see. And the reason I am sad about this is because I feel like we are losing what YouTube always was. Now, by YouTube, I don't necessarily mean all the censorious things that have been going on. I'm just talking about the community, and maybe I'm just nostalgic about the past. But YouTube will never be like it was 10 or 15 years ago. It was like the Wild West, and it was awesome. It was amazing. And the magic of YouTube, what made YouTube really become what it was, and this is where, honestly, I think Rumble is missing the boat too. It's not going to be big, polished content creators that carry it. It's going to be the small content creators. The videos, for example, if you need to know how to change the spark plugs in your 1995 Honda Civic, you can go on YouTube and you're going to find some guy that made a video on that. Not a professional mechanic, but some guy in his garage. And you can get that content. It was a way for everybody to post something. YouTube, right? But YouTube has turned now into something so commercialized. So is Rumble. Okay, I'm very disappointed in that. But I feel like the big gun content creators are losing their personality, where you want to talk about what I think is peak gun YouTube. Peak gun YouTube that I think encapsulates the true spirit was Paul Harrell. Paul Harrell, I am upset with myself that I did not discover and start watching Paul Harrell until the end. Okay? And I've gone back and watched so many of his videos. I don't think people truly understand what we lost in the gun community with his passing. And may he rest in peace, because he encapsulated exactly what this platform is. He did it. He had a small crew of people that helped him. He was a kind of a one-man show, It wasn't polished. It wasn't, recorded great. Man, but you got so much good information. He was funny, he was real, and he was authentic. And that's what this was all about. And I feel like with all the channels, all racing to make money, you have the legal stuff, the people I've mentioned before, the Arm Scholar, the Four Boxes Diner, Washington Gun Law. There's the channel. Now, I know some of you guys are going to hate me for not liking this channel, and I will refuse to watch this channel. I think it's called the Armed Attorneys. It's not because their content is bad. It's because I do not like to follow content that uses beautiful women to promote what they do. Now, I'm not saying that lady on that, I don't even know what her name is a bad attorney or a bad presenter. But it's just like these gun bunny channels. I hate to tell you and break the news to you guys, you're never going to be able to get with any of them. You liking them and posting comments on their videos, they're not going to respond to you and want to get to know you. It's all fake. I'm somebody that likes authenticity. That's what I care about. And so all that stuff is fake to me. But anyway, you have all those channels that are vying to be, the biggest thing to do that as a career. Then you got the big shooting channels, which are now making this, show. And the thing about the big channels I don't like is how they are gatekeepers. I'm a very small channel when it comes to my main channel, okay, compared to what they are. But there are channels that are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times the size I am that are still considered small channels that cannot break into that sphere of influence. They have to work so hard. And I feel like the people that are at the top, they're gatekeepers. They don't want other content creators to be successful, because if you're watching, for example, my content, you're not watching theirs. They want eyeballs on their content, which I understand because they make money. And for me, once you start doing stuff as, to make money, to make profit, more than just run the channel. See, for me, everything I really literally make from YouTube or the Patreons, it literally goes right back into the channel and I lose money on it overall. When I, you deal with time, editing, things I need. But I just dump it back in because it's a passion project. And I don't besmirch people that want to do it for a living and make it for a living. Would it be cool if I could do this 100% of the time? Absolutely. Okay, absolutely. That would be awesome. But I would strive so hard to make sure it stays authentic. I would still continue to be a one-man show. And because I do my own editing, my own content, my own way, at my own pace, I will never be big. I will not play the games, not because anybody has asked me to play the games. I just don't want to be that. But I feel like these big content creators, gun tubers, that are now becoming so commercialized, they're diluting what YouTube really was, the magic of all of this. And it's sad. In my personal opinion, it's really sad. And I'm curious what you guys have to think about all that, have to say about it. Because for me, I don't watch many of them anymore. But any content creator that's going to be a part of that project, I'm just not going to watch. It's just not, because it's becoming too commercialized. And I don't like it. I have no problem if there are, professionally made shows. So, for example, do you guys remember back when there was the History and Discovery Channel had all those shows? I know. They all kind of went south. What would you have? You had Top Shot, okay? That went away. And then you had Sons of Guns. Do you guys remember that show? We all know the legal problems, the star of that show had. And then you had, it was American Guns. He also got in trouble. Doing things he shouldn't have been doing, But anyway, I don't mind if a show is presented as entertainment, as if it's done, professionally and has a big budget and all that kind of stuff. I think it's great. But I feel like these content creators are diluting what the magic of GunTube is. And it's kind of sad. And it's not me being jealous. It's not being, I know some people are going to think that. It's not. It's just because I care about authenticity. I really do. As I have gotten older, I really am starting to see myself change. You know, it's funny because I'm at the age now where it's almost like I'm kind of like, get off my lawn. You know, not that I have kids getting on my lawn, but it's just, I start to understand that mentality. You know, you're a kid and you see that curmudgeony old man in the neighborhood and you're like, stay away from, you know, that guy's house because he's going to come outside and yell at you and tell you to get off his lawn. I'm not that way yet, but I kind of understand that mentality now, you know? I'm really introverted. I know many of you guys don't believe me when I say that I'm introverted because you guys think that because I can do this and talk to a camera that somehow I'm extrovert. No, I'm out here by myself. I don't have to see anybody else. I know my friend Craig appreciates that as well because he likes to work in his garage at night too. And man, this is like my sanctuary. It's what it is. This is my fortress of solitude. This is my bat cave. This is my fortress of solitude for Superman. That is what this is. And this is where I can do my own thing, listen to what I want to do, or listen to the podcast I want to listen to, do what I need to do, and not have to deal with anybody else's stupidity and so forth. So authenticity is what I care about the most. And that's the channels that I follow. So most likely, if you find a channel that's authentic, that's what I follow. I would say, and I could be wrong, you know, I'm not a very good judge of character. I'm not. And that's recently in my professional life, I have learned that, okay? I am not a good judge of character. I generally think the best of people, and then I'm wrong. But some channels that I think that come across to me as authentic would be like TN Outdoors 9? He doesn't post a lot of content anymore. He used to do like a lot of ballistic stuff. And I always kind of felt like he was kind of a one-man show. He was very authentic. I think when Hickok 45 started out, he was very authentic. And now he's essentially, I'm not going to say a shill. He's a presenter. He's not a reviewer. I want to say Coley on the War. All the big channels, when they started out, they were so authentic. And then as they got bigger, and it wasn't had to do with their size, it had to do with how they changed that I didn't like. But Paul Harrell was authentic to the end, even though his subscriber count got huge. That was awesome. That was awesome. And man, oh man, I miss him. I really wish. Man, I really liked him. I really did. Yeah. Anyway, but I'm sure you guys can come up with some other YouTubers that, and name them in the comments, that you think are authentic. And there's some that even follow my channel. And I'm not saying this because they follow me. It's just when I watch them, like the Wyoming Gun Project, I have really gotten into his content. I kind of feel like him and I are kind of kindred spirits. We've never met in real life. Our only interactions have been in the comment sections of each other's videos. As far as I know, I don't think he has emailed me. Maybe he has. I don't think so. But in case you guys want to email me, texasgunvault@gmail.com. But, and if I get around to it, I know I am so backlogged on emails right now. It's absolutely crazy. If you've emailed me, I'm sorry. I've been on vacation. But anyway, but he comes across as very, very authentic. But it's channels like that I absolutely love, and that's the stuff I watch more than anything else. So anyway, that is my first impressions on the Vulcan Machine Werks 11. My thoughts on, I guess, what the big gun tubers are doing and the Hearing Protection Act. So I think I covered everything. Yeah, proud of myself. Stayed on task tonight. So, if you watch to the end of this very long video and could stand me rambling, the word of the day. The word of the day is going to be, we're going to say balanced. Balanced is the word of the day because that is how this pistol shot, a well-balanced firearm, the Vulcan Machine Werks 11. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below and tell me about anything that you want to tell me about anything I talked about tonight. So, as always, thanks for sticking around to the end, and thanks for watching.